Hey everyone, this is Polar Bear Cub. So for this list, I am playing Axis the Harmonic Enforcer. Axis is by far one of my favorite casters in Convergence. He's actually the reason why I decided to pick up Convergence. The ability for him to give all of his jacks countercharge, as well as just his amazing feat and just all the buffs he can give, with Razor Wall, allowing his jacks to charge, Pathfinder, just makes the list really great, and I'm super excited to finally put him on the table.
Hey everybody, Taodark from Advanced Maneuvers. This week I'm throwing down my double Gator, double Warder list again, the one that didn't do too terribly well against Kane last week. But this one actually I've been practicing with, and I did a little adaptations. I shifted out the Mauler and brought in some more lights, so I have some range potential. The general synopsis of the list being that the Gators, being faster than Warders, can run forward, clog things up, and then the Warders can follow suit and clean up house, and then Janissa providing cover for Calandra.
Alright, so for my deployment, what I decided to do since I got to go first, I kind of just separated my army. I had my 3 inverters on the far left side of the table, and then I was putting my reciprocators on the far right side. I wanted them to be able to get to that hill if I needed to. And then I put my eradicators right next to the reciprocators, kind of making a nice straight line. Afterwards, I put Axis around, and later on you can actually see me switching Axis and Corollary's position. Just a little bit, I shifted them a little bit over to the side. And then after I kind of put out my units, I made a little bit more space right between them, so I could put all of my jacks right in the front line, as well as being within 6 inches of each other. So I could definitely get them all that nice little focus with the first turn of the game, just for a nice run.
So for troll deployment, I'm looking at the table, and there's 3 inverters on my right flank. So Calandra is going to be playing nowhere near that area. I'm kind of given up hope of controlling that area. I'm really just kind of putting Gators and Warders over there to clog up those 3 heavies, which will allow the rest of my army to deal with the the Eradicators and the Reciprocators. Eradicators have me a little nervous because their ability to manipulate their mat can somewhat counter Starcross, and then the Reciprocators with their increased damage can actually deal with my armor. So for the most part, I'm going to be playing the left-hand side of the board, with hopefully taking out the objective for a point, and then just trying to score defensively.
Alright, so for my first turn of the game, I gave 1 focus point out to my jacks, and all of them ran forward. I activated the Eradicators. They ran forward and they gave themselves +2 armor. My Corollary activated within 3 inches of Axis, so he got an extra focus point and he walked forward. And the Axis finally activated. He walked up his full speed. He gave Iron Aggression to one of the jacks, and then he cast Onslaught. I activated the Reciprocators. They gave themselves +2 defense against charge attacks and ran forward. My Optifex Directives moved forward. The Attunement Servitors ran forward.
Trolls turn 1. So I'm looking at the table and trying to figure out exactly what I'm going to do. As I mentioned in my deployment, with 3 inverters on my far right hand side, Calandra is going to be nowhere near that end of the table. She's going to have to play defensively on the left hand side, because with the Gators and Warders I have on that side, I feel like I'm relatively safe from her being charged by any of those. That being said, I'm going to still have to apply my other unit of Gators and Warders to the inverters. This is in part due to if I let them run rampant, they're going to redeploy themselves to the right hand side. So I need to give something for the inverters to go after. I'm going to use, even though I'm lining them up in a linear line, the warders and the gators, I will be using the gators in later turns to move in front of the warders. This way that I can set the tone for which units are going to be charged. Let him charge my gators so that I in turn can use the warders to countercharge. I don't necessarily think that the warders are going to solve my triple inverter problem on the right hand side, but I can use them to definitely hold things up and potentially kill one or two of the inverters. So I'm basically kind of just, turn one, pushing everything forward. I'm going to use the Slag Troll and the Impaler on the right-hand side to potentially shoot out the objective, and then also keep it in that general vicinity to try and keep Axis honest. He is not a... I don't know if the Slag Trolls are necessarily going to be able to deal with Axis, be able to snipe him out in an assassination, but if I can put enough damage on him, I can keep him honest and keep him out of play so that he's not running and trying to smash into Calandra or Janissa, and just trying to use all of these walls that are in the center to my advantage.
Alright, so for turn 2, it's pretty much just kind of thinking whether or not I want to pop my feet this round or not. I really am debating about if he's going to be able to hit up that alpha strike, and I don't want that to happen. So kind of the first thing I do is I decide not to allocate any focus point out to upkeep my 2 spells. Afterwards, I activate the Reciprocators. They give themselves +2 defense against charge attack. Then I give them the order to shield wall and kind of just move them a little bit up the field. Afterwards, I activated my Eradicators, gave themselves their +2 armor again, and they all walked up. I kept them pretty close. The reason is just because those walls, even though I do have Onslaught up, I kind of just wanted to, keep them nice close in order for charges. Then afterwards, I activated Axis. And then I was making sure he was within his 5 inches of the Corollary, and then I was kind of just debating whether or not to do his feet. I realized that all his models were out, so it just wouldn't make any sense at all. So with that being said, I just moved him up and into his activation. Then I just kind of walked the rest of my jacks forward. I'll make sure they're all within a certain amount of inches of all the jacks, and then I walked the rest of them up. Then finally I started moving the Attunement Servitors. I ran 1 into the forest, 1 on the hill, and 1 relatively close to the Reciprocators.
Troll's turn 2. So he did not push forward as far as I thought he would, which honestly is probably the right decision. He's denied me from having any charges from either my gators or my warders. Warders are relatively slow. If he had living models on the other side, I might have actually had an option with my gators, but since the only living things are the Optifex Directive, which he's conveniently hidden behind his inverters, I'm not going to be able to draw a line of sight to charge them to gain the increased speed. So, and this is a turn where I'm basically going to use the warders. I'm going to use the gators to push forward, engage things via just running and engaging them, and then having the warders follow up behind as the counter charge for any of the gators I might fall out. There's a couple Attunement Servitors on the my far left-hand side at the top of the screen. I need to be mindful of them because their ability to reduce defense is going to be is going to help counter Starcross. I also, as mentioned before, I need to watch out for the Eradicators because their ability to manipulate their mat will also counter Starcross. So here I'm basically charging running the gators forward to engage as many of the Reciprocators as I can, also to engage the Attunement Server so they can start shooting off its flares. The second unit of gators is going to do a similar thing. I have no illusions that they're going to actually be able to do anything to the inverters, but I can use 1 to engage the Attunement Servitor so it can't flare, and then I can use the others to basically run forward and try and engage the inverters. I know I need to engage them to prevent them to countercharge. I get 1 of them to engage. I did not get the other one is engaged, and then the objective, well, I'm sorry, the objective is preventing one of them from countercharging, one of them is engaged, and the third one is able to countercharge because I was not able to reach, so he goes in and countercharges. In dealing with Axis before, I know that countercharge can be a double-edged sword. It's great for the Axis player to be able to get in an extra charge and swing. Under Starcross, it can be kind of questionable, but what I can do is I can actually use it to bait things out so that my slow warders can get engaged faster. So it's, in its own weird way, countercharge can be used to increase the movement of warders. I can bait something out, I get it closer, and the warders can charge it. And after the Gators have moved up and kind of engaged what they can, the warders are just going to move up and prepare for engagement for the next turn, preparing that next turn. Impaler's going to activate. Impaler's putting Far Strike on the Slag Troll. This way the Slag Troll has the potential of throwing out some damage onto the objective. Going onto the hill. Initially I thought I had to go onto the hill actually because I was going to need it to be able to line of sight, but that wasn't an issue. I did actually have a lane for line of sight. So went through, did some damage, not a lot, but it's some. Enough that maybe next turn I can actually take it out. I'm moving the Lightning Troll over in hopes that I can actually use it to disrupt the inverters in potential turns. Disrupted inverters really can screw with the induction chain that COC players are used to playing with. And then everything's kind of just moving up, walls are set down, and just making sure focus is set. Calandra's going to do Starcrossed, of course, and then she's just going to shimmy up behind the wall with Janissa.
Starcrossed is a rough spell to deal with. You know, being able to roll extra dice, but having the top takeaway really puts a damper on your army. So with most of these turns, the biggest time I spend, I feel, is right in the beginning debating on where to put my focus. It's really because I really want to make sure I get the maximum amount out of the induction ability. So I really struggle with that a lot, just kind of debating on, you know, how I want things to go and where I want them to move around to, just make sure all my jacks kind of get as much as possible. So I end up upkeeping my 2 spells again, and I give one of my focus points out to the Diffuser. Then afterwards I activate Axis, I walk them up so I can get as many models as possible into the feet, and I end up popping my feet. Now I did this one because it gives me the +2 strength. Also, some of his models are not engaged yet, and I really don't want them to be able to charge, and even if they do charge and I don't kill them with the warders, given their +2 armor whenever they get damaged, I really doubt I'm going to be able to do a lot of damage to them in the long term. So I really want to make sure that they can hurt me a lot less. Even if I do kill some of their front lines, I want to make sure that that's all stopped. So right now I'm kind of just debating about, you know, different things to do, and right there I just popped down that token of the feet, just saying that I did pop it. Then I end up starting right now with the Eradicators. So I'm kind of just, you know, debating on how to move them where I can get my charges best possible, because with their sidestep ability, I want to, you know, kind of hit twice. Right now they're power plus strength 14 on the charge, 3 dice, you know, going against the Gators. I believe they're an armor 18, so still dice -4, but on a charge I really feel like I could get, you know, a good hit. Then I could, you know, sidestep either A, if I successfully kill one, I could possibly engage another one, or if I don't kill it, I could walk around to try to open up more charges. So pretty much the whole time I'm rolling 3 dice to hit, and I actually have some pretty solid rolls. Kind of what I should have done is try to get the Attunement Servitors to activate first, so I could lower their defense just a little bit more. But surprising, most of the time I actually hit, I only need I believe it's 6s right now, and it's because I still gave them the +2 armor. My Eradicators, I really didn't want to waste that armor, even though I did pop my feet for the -2 strength. I figured, just keep that armor up, and then I'll take my chance because 2 swings aren't too terribly bad. So that guy in the center that I just sacked, he has made, throughout the course of this turn, he ends up making about 3 tough rolls, so I finally kill him. He's just one tough troll. It's always kind of difficult when, you think you got that hit, you think you killed him, and then finally you have to deal with a tough roll. And it's only a third of a time that does succeed, 1 out of 3 chances, but it's still, whenever it does, it's always just disheartening. Alright, so next I'm activating my Attunement Servitor. I had a little bit of a trouble keeping him on that hill. So I end up trying to shoot an AoE out, but it does miss, which it's going to miss most of the time. It's normally, I have to roll an 8 against these guys, and with rolling 3 dice, it's just not usually going to happen. But I did end up still clipping a couple of them, which does help with minusing their defense. It does bring it down to a defense 11, so I only need 4s to hit a lot of them. So I did have, I had one of my reciprocators, he did a charge outside of melee, outside of combat, so he did get a free strike, but there was only, I think, 1 point of damage done to him, surprisingly. So right now I'm just kind of moving my reciprocators, and my goal is to try to kill the Gators, as many of them as possible. Good thing is the Gators really can't do too much to my reciprocators. A lot of their abilities that revolve around living models don't affect most of my Convergence army, which is kind of really nice. That takes a lot of their I feel a lot of their pizzazz out. Alright, so next I activate my Corollary, and he's starting to, give out focus. He ends up giving out 2 focus to one of my jacks, to one of the inverters, and he inducted another one to the Mitigator. And now what I'm going to try to do is, as I'm kind of just debating back and forth again, what their defenses are, what's going to happen, I end up activating the Mitigator, and he's going to try to do an AoE shot, so he ends up boosting it. Actually, at that time, I don't think I did an induction. It's a mistake on my part. I kind of forget sometimes. So he ends up missing, but it does land on that guy. And since he is already knocked down, he suffers not a point of damage. But again, he toughed for a second time. So little annoying. That guy is a pain in the butt to kind of deal with. Alright, so afterwards I activated my Diffuser, and he takes shot against the knockdown guy again. I end up having to roll 3 dice still, and then I end up boosting the damage roll just so I can get that induction off, and actually finally he does not tough, and I'm super excited about that. Just not necessarily because he was that important of a piece, but anytime you can get a model off the board, I feel you just got to do it. So next I activated my inverters, and since he does have Iron Aggression, I'm rolling 4 dice on it. So even with the top dice removed, I end up hitting him. And it's a power plus strength 22. So I ended up using his, I believe during that time I did use his knockdown ability, because I didn't think I was going to be able to get any type of, good charges out of it, or counter charges. And then he ends up killing off another one of the guys that power plus strength 19. So he's doing dice plus 1. Next I'm just kind of walking up my, any of my Optifex directives, and they're just kind of just getting into place for the next turn. My second inverter goes up, and I have 3 targets in, so he's pretty camped up on focus. So I just wanted to check to see if he was within, and he was actually out of Calandra, so now he's just swinging, kind of trying to take hits. He did miss his first attack, which is always frustrating. So I bought an attack on the second guy. I did some damage to him, but not too much. So I ended up rolling and trying to knock him out again. But it looks like that just really doesn't happen. So I finally move up my last inverter, and I kind of just keep him in the back there, and I swing at one of the guys. You can't really see him. He's behind the forest there. And I swing to attack and damage, and I end up taking him out. So I made sure not to use his knockdown ability because I do want to try to save those as much as possible. Last thing I did is I just moved my Attunement Servitor over to the side, kind of just to get him out of the way.
Troll's turn 3. So I'm underneath Axis's feet turn, and I'm looking at being a -2 strength and -2 speed, which for warders is crippling. I'm going to be only speed 2. I'm not going to be able to get charges off, so I won't be able to get additional die. And being -2 strength means that even under battle driven, I basically, it's negating my battle driven. I'm dropped back down to 10. And again, some of those heavies, it's I mean, I'm dealing with a poor situation. It's a really strong feat against trolls and warders in general. So I'm kind of looking at the scenario. My light trolls aren't necessarily in the feat, or are not in the feat, Slag Troll specifically. And Axis is standing out in the open. He's not behind the wall anymore. So I checked Calandra's control area to make sure that I had range on it, and I do. So one of the things I'll be doing in that activation is going after Axis. And then I'm also contemplating on if I should or should not use my feat turn so that the 1s and 2s on rerolls for damage can help counterbalance the -2 strength that I'm suffering from the feat. So the Gators are activating. I've got to start pushing for that zone. We're in the 3rd turn, and I haven't gotten any of the points up yet. So I'm starting late in the game. So I need to clear out that zone because at some point in time, Calandra's going to need to go over there and start dominating the flag. So the Gators start activating, and I'm basically just advancing them up, trying to maximize to get both of their swings in. And then basically just try and clear out that zone. I've still got 3 Gators in that unit, so they're still able to control being above half. So hopefully I'll be able to get some points out of them in this turn if I can clear out that area. But being under the feet, it's hampering my ability to take anything out of that zone. So activating Calandra, I do decide to go for the feet turn, popping my feet, putting Starcross up, obviously. And the more I think about it, I probably could have actually saved my feet turn for the next turn. This is in part due to the fact that I'm using the feet turn to counterbalance the -2 strength, but it's also, by using it, I'm not necessarily getting full impact out of it. If I were to have saved it for next turn, then any of the warders that would activate in the following turn would actually be able to charge, getting the additional dice on charge, not being affected by the -2 strength. And when you're re-rolling 1s and 2s, having more and more dice is actually advantageous because you'll be able to swing that spike roll more with having 4 dice because I charged instead of just having 3 dice because in this turn I'm advancing. So in hindsight, probably could have saved it till next turn, but I went with popping it on 3. So the warders are activating. Again, we're just kind of advancing up. I want to clear some area for the Slag Troll to get shots off. I want to clear up some of that zone so that Calandra can advance over to the upper flag without having to worry about Eradicators coming in. Basically, everything on this table is lethal to Calandra. So activating the Gators. I'm actually countercharge on COC is actually, it's a double-edged sword. It's really good because it allows the Convergence to get their jacks in and get additional swings on jacks. But it can also be used against COC. So in this instance, I don't expect my Gators to ever survive Convergence, or the Inverters. They just hit too hard, and with reach, they have the ability to get them anywhere. So I can't even hide behind a wall or something like that. And basically what I'm doing is I'm using the Gator activation to draw out the Inverters. I'm under a slower speed right now, so if I'm going to engage Inverters with Warders, then I'm going to need to pull the Inverters away from where they are. So this is where I'm basically advancing one of the Gators over for no other reason than I want the Inverter that's going to countercharge him to come further up the field. And my opponent obviously does take the countercharge to remove a Gator, because one less Gator on the field. But now I have a path for my Warders to go after, or to attempt to go after. So the one that's currently engaged by the Eradicator can go after the Inverter, and then the others can go after the Eradicator that he's currently engaged with. So here I'm activating the Warders. Being speed 2, I complain about being speed 4 all the time, but being speed 2 just plain sucks. So they're going to activate. Again, we're getting counter charges in. Wasn't too terribly worried about the light countercharging the warder, but it's one of the scenarios where I had to decide if I wanted to stay there and not get charged or not. So I decided to go for it anyways. He didn't do enough to kill the warder, so cool. I'm basically just trying to get work, and just using that counter charge to get things engaged towards my advantage while under the feet turn, and hopefully only trading a Gator or two in the process. And again, similar to the prior turns, I'm not necessarily looking to crush the Inverters. Honestly, all I'm trying to do is get rid of that pulverizer. Setting up the Impaler to put Far Strike on the Slag Troll. Again, checking to see where I need to put the Slag Troll so that he can spit on Axis. I could have gone after the objective, but Axis was too juicy of a target to sit out there in the open, and since the Slag Troll is not affected by the feet turn because he was out, he gets his full movement. So I set it up and I go after Axis. I'm sitting here with a Light War Beast. I get to buy both of my attacks. I can boost the damage on both of them. And I'm under feet turn, so this should be able to put a lot of damage on Axis and actually pull it off. But I don't boost because I didn't really think I needed to with the reroll, and unfortunately the reroll did not help me, so I had to buy an attack and boost again. So nothing really turned out on the Axis one. I asked my opponent if he could remove the arms. Yeah, yet another good thing about the magnetization is it helps with those arms that dangle out. I'm basically baiting forward the Storm Troll, because if I can hit him, I can put some damage. Again, trying to knock out those arms, and then also trying to bait the other Inverters to go after the Storm Troll so that I can potentially, hopefully, get one or two of them to be disrupted in a following turn when they hit the Storm Troll. Just have to make sure that when they hit the Storm Troll, they don't kill the Storm Troll. Otherwise, the disruption doesn't work. Janissa stepping forward, putting down the wall to keep the Slag Troll protected, and that's the end of my turn.
All right, man. Countercharge is awesome. Two of my inverters were successfully able to countercharge. One of them actually was able to knock the guy down, but a power plus strength 22 with 3 dice of damage usually kills gators. I did charge the Mitigator just because I figured I could get some damage on him, but it wasn't too successful. I think I only did about 1 point of damage. So, my Jack side is holding up really well. Unfortunately, a lot of my Eradicators did die. I kind of expected them not to live terribly long, but I was hoping they would do a little bit more than that. I think the Eradicators are a really good unit. Just against trolls, they're maybe not the best option because they don't have a lot of damage output. They're really great against high defense targets, but not necessarily against, you know, low defense, high armor. So this turn, I activated the Corollary, and he, you know, threw out some focus, did some inductions, and then next I started activating one of my inverters, and I really wanted to get rid of that Storm Troll. Now, what I didn't realize until after, you know, my opponent told me about it, was that after you successfully complete an attack against him, your focus kind of disappears. You do get disrupted. So figured I successfully hit him, I'm gonna boost that damage roll so I can get an induction off and, you know, really try to light him up. I want that guy to die. One thing I didn't mention is that I was, you know, kind of afraid with that Slag Troll before, but I figured, you know, I have to get rid of at least one of his light trolls now, so I did gang up 2 of my Jacks to take out that Storm Troll. You know, and after 2 attacks from both of them, I do end up successfully killing him, removing him from the table, which always makes it a lot better, just because you can't really deal with guys like that. That first inverter did also kill that other Gator as well, which is, you know, always nice. One less Gator on the table is always good. Alright, so next thing I was doing was activating my Eradicators, and, you know, they were walking up. They just try to, you know, end up damaging more of the warders. The warders are just so hard. The first attack, you know, they're only an armor 17, but then afterwards they boost up to an armor 19. That's rough. It's rough for a power 12 to deal with, even with 2 attacks. You know, I was kind of scraping them off, which is good. I did successfully remove one of them, so that's always kind of nice. So with that, I did try to, you know, get that Eradicator moved up just a little bit more. I was debating on trying to, you know, where I wanted to really place him. I wanted to engage, but there was really no option to, so I ended up just moving him back, kind of just to block charge lanes to Axis, because I did feel Axis was a little wide open. So next I activated my Reciprocators. I actually gave them +2 POW instead of the +2 defense, so they're up to a power 14, which is really good. And I was just trying to use them to kill off. Unfortunately, I really didn't do too much at all with them. Power plus 14, power plus strength 14, dice -4. It just didn't do a whole lot against the Gators that are armor 18. Alright, so next what I did is I activated the Diffuser, and he just tried to take a shot. It was really just to try to, you know, put some damage up on. It's staying still. He was, you know, still only a Rat 4, so it's harder to hit. But I figured, it's, you know, it could be done. So last I activated my last inverter, and he walked up and he just tried to engage more of the warders, and I figured, you know, 2 attacks. Now this one I did use my knockdown. And it was just because I didn't think I could really get any solid charges off. But I just really wanted to set up a nice straight line for my inverters, and they just really held down that side very well. Having 3 jacks on one side with the ability that Convergence does to just throw that focus around and not having to deal with any type of disruption now made things a lot easier. Unfortunately, you know, again, like normal, my army side, my unit side was not handling it nearly as well. So the last thing I did was I did activate my Optifex directives, and they walked up. You know, 2 of them really didn't do anything, but 1 did try to heal, which he successfully did. He healed about 2 or 3 points off of an Eradicator. Then last, I activated Axis, moved him close to that wall, and upkeep my spells, and that was it for that turn, leaving 4 focus on him.
Troll's turn 4. So, not necessarily exactly how I wanted things to play out. Some things did go my way, other things didn't. Axis has gone into hiding, so assassination of him is pretty much out of play. Feet is gone. Inverters are still in play. My warders and my gators are completely gone, so my plan to stall the inverters is slowly but surely falling apart, and Calandra's in pretty big danger of being attacked by an inverter in the following turn. So a couple things that do stick out in my mind is I've got a Corollary sitting right next to an already damaged objective. That's a pretty tasty thing to go after, especially considering that my opponent's already got a point on me. I need to start getting into the scenario play, so why not go after both in with one turn? Kind of playing things out, trying to see how I'm going to be able to damage both the objective in this turn and kill the Corollary, so that I can halt some of that focus spreading that he's doing to the inverters, and then stall them out with the Impaler. I noticed that the inverters are in such an arc that the Impaler can actually charge the center one, which is to my advantage since he's the damaged one. And I can actually prevent all 3 of them from doing any sort of countercharging, and force them to actually deal with that Impaler in order to get any further up the field. So the Impaler does go forward. I have to use a reroll from Calandra because I miss horribly and actually only do 2 points of damage. But I've kind of achieved what the Impaler, the maximum the Impaler could possibly do, which is he's basically halting up the inverters from doing any sort of countercharging when my Slag Trolls start moving, or anything like that. Which gives me the opportunity to advance the Slag Troll round, deal with the objective, and deal with the Corollary. But I still need to keep in mind that poor Impaler is not going to keep all 3 of those heavies in check for very long. So Janissa moves forward because I'm going to need more than just a Slag Troll to take out the Corollary and the objective, and she goes ahead and rock hammers the objective. So since it's an AoE, it's going to clip both the objective, killing it, and then also the Corollary doing, boxcars, which is awesome, of damage. And then the Slag Troll activates. He's already got the Impaler's Animus on him, so he goes after the Corollary as well. I unfortunately miss, so I reroll, and then I miss again. I buy an attack, I boost the hit, I miss, so I have to pull another reroll off Calandra, and I do hit that time, and then I boost the damage because he's finished basically, and I get the 4th dice for not being being a living target, and I do a lot of damage, but I don't do enough to destroy it. I do take out the induction node, but that's not enough because he's still got his mechanics back there. I really needed to take that thing, and if you're going after the Corollary, kill it outright, because the Convergence player is guaranteed to heal it the next turn, and he'll still continue his inductions. So activate the warders. Again, Project Clean Out the Zone is still underway. They're not under Axis's feet this turn, so they will be getting some damage in. I had to take a free strike, which, I mean, that's fine. I do lose one warder, but it's not necessarily a huge issue, since I have another warder who can just go ahead and take up that same spot. And this is just moving things up. Something to point out, that the wall that Calandra has been hiding behind has been advantageous for a good majority of this game. But there comes a time where staying behind a wall actually hurts you. She has not really moved much from that spot, and that will actually come into play next turn. Thankfully, the warders have Pathfinder, so it didn't really necessarily hurt them, and that was something that I didn't necessarily consider because my warders are constantly moving over. So my brain doesn't necessarily think about, you know, Pathfinder is something you have to worry about. So that'll come into play later. So warders are going through, taking out another Eradicator. Calandra moves over because there's 3 inverters over there. And then again, we're activating the Gators. You know, Project Clean the Zone still underway.
Man, everyone just loves to pick on the Corollary. It's not his fault. He's just handing out focus. So the Corollary was alive, but his induction, his eye box or his cortex was gone. So I kind of need to see what I was going to do to try to get that cortex back up so I can get up, you know, those extra focus. If I get up the cortex, I get axe within 3 inches. Also in Corollary is throwing out 2 extra focus. So I really need to do that. So right here, I decided to drop Onslaught, which was a bad idea now that I think about it. But at the time, I was figuring any extra focus I could have also to keep axes alive is really good. So first, I activated my Optifex Directives. They moved forward, healed a couple damage on the Corollary, and also one more healed damage on one of the inverters. Then I activated axes. He walked really close to that Corollary, but still staying behind that wall, and he ended up kind of just moving up. He really didn't do anything else. And the next I activate the Corollary kind of just walked up. He had his focus, so he gave one out and was able to induct to another. So that kind of started up a really good focus chain for what was going to happen. I needed to kill that Impaler, and I was also going to try to kill that Slag Troll as well. So I moved back over the Reciprocators. They're still in shield wall, and they still have the +2 POW. So right now what I'm just trying to do is just, you know, try to clear out those Gators, but man, they are tough. They are just not dying. So I had the Attunement Servitor also drop an AoE on them to try to lower their, to lower their defense a little bit. Obviously it was going to hit because of just how close he was, but just, after he does that, just the Reciprocators just are not really able to do any type of damage at all to them. It's difficult. They, again, -4 to the armor. So next, I activated the Eradicators. Now I only activated one of them because I actually forgot about the other Eradicator behind the wall. So only one got to move. The other kind of just stood there and looked pretty. So he took 2 swings and kind of just walked up. I wanted to engage Janissa. So he was able to take 1 swing on Janissa, but just really didn't do too much at all. I also had my Mitigator up there who was also going to try to swing, do a little bit of damage. But that just kind of really didn't fare out too well. So next, I started with my inverters. So actually, I did mess up on the chain a little bit on this. I meant to activate the one on the far left first, I believe. And just the focus, the way how it worked out, I ended up not getting out the correct amount of focus to that final jack. And I think that's right where I was just realizing and kind of hit myself in the head for that. But on the bright side, that even with all the other shenanigans, I did end up getting the inverter up to 3 focus. It was just that the focus on the inverter on the far right didn't get any focus, so I really need him to kind of, you know, finish it off. So he had walked up, he knocked him down successfully, and between all the two of them, they were able to remove that Impaler. Next, I activated that last inverter. He charged forward. He walked forward. And he took some swings on the Slag Troll. He was rolling forward dice again because he still has Iron Aggression up on him. And that first roll successfully had knocked him down. And then just doing Power Plus Strength 20 and then 4 Power Plus Strength 17. After enough time, the Slag Troll did end up, you know, kind of seeing what the Convergence was talking about and went down.
Troll's turn 5. So, looking at the table, this is my last turn. Come hell or hot water, I have to do something in this turn. My opponent has enough control points that all he needs to do is run his caster forward, and it's game over. So I have to clean out that zone. I've got Gators over there, and I got Warders over there, so I'm relatively okay with it. And basically what I'm looking at is the right hand side where the inverters are, or my right hand side where the inverters are, it's gone. There's nothing I can do about it. I don't have anything really that I'm going to be able to drive to contest. In theory, I could have ran Calandra, or I'm sorry, I could have ran Janissa to the flag, but that would have put her in a situation where she would have had to take in 2 free strikes from Eradicators, and that's not necessarily a good scenario for her. So I'm kind of just looking at you know, what can be done for this situation. I just going through the activations, cleaning out the zone, because if I can't clean out the zone, the game's over with. You know, there's nothing I'm really going to be able to do without that being completely clear. So the scenario I'm looking at is he's going to score 1 point in my turn. If I can get Calandra into base-to-base with a flag, she can dominate for 2. So that'll put us both at 3-3. He can dominate again in his turn, putting him to 5, and then if he can't contest me in his turn, then I will go to 5, and it will continue on. With him only having about 3 minutes left on the clock, it potentially could result in a death clock scenario. Not the best win condition, but it is still a win condition and one that can be played for. So activating my warders, the Attunement Servitor, though he's not necessarily contributing to damage in the game, he has been sitting back there in the contesting range. So he definitely needs to go. One of the warders goes after him, and then the other warder goes after the last of the Reciprocators. And I apply a second warder to the last of the Reciprocators because this needs to happen. End of story. My only hope is to run Calandra, or to get Calandra in base-to-base with the flag so that I can dominate it in my turn. But as I mentioned in a prior turn, you have to be mindful of when things are benefiting you and when things aren't. So I activate Calandra and I cast Starcross. And this is a situation where I should not have cast Starcross, because by casting Starcross, I have prevented myself from run over to the flag to get in base-to-base with it. So my next logical approach is I will charge one of the warders. Thankfully, she didn't have the distance to charge a warder and get base to base with the objective, because upon later review, I realized that she didn't have Pathfinder, so it's an actual illegal move. I would have felt bad if I would have dominated under an illegal move.
Alright, so my final turn of the game, I had 3 control points. So what I could have done was just ran Axis up, activated all my stuff, and finished. I only had about 3 minutes left, but I really wanted to try to kill Calandra. So what I was going to try to do was, activate Axis. I was going to cast Onslaught, then I was going to charge forward. But because I had already activated Axis, I had too many things in my way, so I actually couldn't charge and get there in time. First, I had activated Corollary, kind of give out focus. I really wanted that Inverter to be able to charge and kill him. And what I was going to do is I was going to give 1 focus to Diffuser so he could move up. He could shoot Calandra, that'll give him, the free charge and a +2 inches to really be able to make him get there. If he would have gotten those +2 inches, he definitely would have been in. Fortunately, the Diffuser was in combat. So after a whole lot of debate, I realized I couldn't cast Onslaught. The Onslaught would have been able to give me the direct path to Calandra, which could have given me my also my knockdown weapon. So I ended up running Axe forward. He touched base with the flag, and then afterwards I activated the Diffuser. He took 2. He walked out. He didn't suffer enough damage to be killed, and that's what he's doing right now. End up taking 2 shots, and both of them missed. And then afterwards, I ended up just running the Inverter forward, and then Axis took the flag, spun it around, sighted the Harmonics because he's crazy. And then Convergence lived another day to win.